Super Mario, he's a super guy. Yeah, he's your jack of all trades sorts. Typically, he has the most average stats in any game ever, but nothing points to his jack of all trades nature like his resume. Oh my word, what would his resume look like? Imagine Mario coming into a job interview and he just hands you a book and you're like, what's this, Mario? And he's all, it's on my resume! That was my best Mario impression. Mario has had a lot of jobs, so many that it's a joke to some. But how many has he actually had? Hello, this is Loxton, and today on Gnoggin we are going to find out. But first, why did Nintendo decide to have Mario do so many things? Well, according to Miyamoto, Mario's profession was chosen to fit the game design. The Donkey Kong arcade game was set on a construction site, so Mario was made into a carpenter. When he appeared again in Mario Bros., Miyamoto decided that Mario should be a plumber, since a lot of the game is played in underground sewer systems. And since Mario's character design, from his overalls and mustache to his large nose, draws on Western influences, once he became a plumber, Miyamoto decided to put him in New York and make him Italian, lightheartedly attributing Mario's nationality to his mustache. Plus, being a carpenter or a plumber means that Mario can be seen as an ordinary old hard worker, which makes it easier for players to identify with him. But after a while, Miyamoto started getting carried away with giving him new jobs, and now the number must be in the hundreds, right? Well, let's get counting. First and foremost, Jumpman, now known as Mario, got his start in Donkey Kong as a carpenter, then quickly swapped over to his most iconic job, a plumber, in Mario Bros. But his time doing odd jobs in New York wasn't quite over yet. In Wrecking Crew, he works as a demolition worker. Quite the stark contrast to the construction worker we see him be in Mario Maker. He spends some time working at a cement factory as well as a bottle factory, and for a time he switches his focus to entertainment and sports, working as a juggler and then as a tennis umpire and a boxing referee in Punch-Out. But it isn't long until he gets drafted away to the military in Mario's Bombs Away. Yes, Vietnam. But back in New York and having experience with Donkey Kong, he becomes a zookeeper in Donkey Kong Jr. and even works as a circus animal trainer in Donkey Kong Circus. Apparently, strapped for cash, he becomes a marine treasure hunter in Octopus, but goes back to a simpler life as a chef in Yoshi's Cookie. Then, in Alleyway, he becomes the pilot of a space bar ship thing, doing whatever this is. Well, I'm sure it's important. And soon he starts looking to sports again, only this time picking them up himself. He becomes a professional golfer in NES Golf, and frequently goes back to that in the Mario Golf games. He also picks up racing as a professional race kart driver in the Mario Kart games, as well as being the owner and operator of a few race courses, essentially making him a race course tycoon. But before all that, he works in the pit crew of F1 Race, as well as a trophy girl in the same game, or the trophy passer, something along those lines. You win the race and Mario's there with a bunch of trophy girls and they give you the trophy for the cup. Yeah. And at some point throughout all this, he spent years at a university, because he not only becomes a doctor in Dr. Mario, but also an archaeologist in Mario's Picross, and a preschool teacher in Mario's early years. And this knack for teaching of his meant that becoming a typing instructor was no issue to Mario at all in Mario Teaches Typing. We also see him do all kinds of things in Super Mario Bros. And Friends When I Grow Up, a PC game from 1991. Here we can see Mario doing all sorts of jobs, like being an attorney, a scientist, an astronomer, a firefighter, a computer programmer, exciting, a marine biologist. At first you wouldn't guess that this is a marine biologist, right? It's just Mario in a frog suit. But this is what the game says, he's a marine biologist. So, gotta listen to the game. An armed forces pilot, a forest ranger, a farmer, a barber, a business executive, a pharmacist, and an astronaut. He also becomes a card dealer in Mario's Game Gallery, and he apparently also operates this game gallery because it's called Mario's Game Gallery, so boom, Game Gallery Tycoon. He picks up painting in Mario Paint and becomes a composer there as well. Plus, there are some Mario Party games where he shows off his composing capabilities. He becomes a stunt bike rider in Mario's Excite Bike and becomes a rifleman in Yoshi's Safari. Then, no longer just an umpire, he picks up professional tennis for himself. as well as a tennis tournament organizer. And he does the same with baseball, both as a baseball player and a stadium manager. He's also a professional hockey player, volleyball player, dodgeball player, basketball player. He even joined the NBA at one point. And speaking of the street, breakdancing, or rather just dancing in general, happens too. He becomes a dancer. He also owns a few striker soccer stadiums and plays in them professionally. Then, in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, he becomes a theme park owner and operator, as well as the owner and operator of a toy factory. And in Super Mario Odyssey, we see him take on the job of an airship captain, along with a talent scout. And last but not least for this part of the list, there is of course the ever-present Princess Peach's personal bodyguard / hero. And that ends the base part of the list. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, this is the list when you don't include the TV show, or Mario and Sonic, or Mario Party. So this is what you could say are the number of jobs that Mario for sure has had. Look at that number. That's crazy. That's like 30 lifetimes worth. So now we are going to look into the questionable territory, things that aren't necessarily canon, whatever Mario canon means, or things that may not necessarily be considered jobs. I mean, Olympic athlete is one job that could cover a lot of these, but also a lot of the games in Mario Party aren't necessarily them doing jobs at all. I mean, things like shaking a can of soda.
Go!
Just look at this thrilling gameplay.
Finish! Woohoo! Mario's the winner!
Also, this part of the list includes the other questionable things, like in Mario Sunshine, he acted sort of as a janitor, but he wasn't actually a janitor, he was a convict that was forced to do janitorial things. I guess you could call that a job, but you might also not call it a job, so we'll count it for this part of the list. Also, like in Mario Land 2, he piloted a fighter plane and he piloted a submarine. Apparently, he knows how to do both of those, so those are both essentially jobs to him. But are they really jobs? Who knows? But let's go ahead and count them for this extended part of the list. So covering these questionable materials now, we get into some weird stuff. He was a sumo wrestler at one point, at least this toy seems to say so. He also was a feather cape rental salesman in the Mario manga. And looking to the TV show, the princess once hired the brothers as secret agents. That was cool. But throughout the show, Mario also takes the jobs of a personal fitness trainer, a karate master, an actor, a babysitter, a TV show host, a detective, and even a rapper. Old school rap, everybody's favorite. He was lots of other things too, like a pirate, a cowboy, and a thief and such, but those aren't really jobs. Those are ways of life. Then, in Mario Party, we see him take the role of a lumberjack, a tank operator, a landscaper, a baker, a drummer, a sheriff, a rock climber, a fisherman, a car wash attendant, a safari guide, a fast food waiter, a tightrope walker, a conductor, a trumpet player, a violinist, a saber fighter, a firefighter, a claw machine operator, a crane boat operator, a photographer, a free diver, a bug catcher, an oil miner, a gardener, a limbo dancer, an archer, a water skier, a train conductor, a bowler, an American football player, a paraglider, and a worker in pest control. And then we get to the Olympics, the Olympic events that he does professionally, and you could list all of these as Olympic athlete, but let's just stretch this video out a bit more. Though Olympic athlete does cover all of the running and jumping, the hurdling and the javelin and a bunch of them, so let's list Olympic athlete once for sure. But then we get Olympic swimmer, archer, gymnast, rower, shooter, table tennis player, fencer, cyclist, boxer, a track and field athlete, an equestrian show jumper, snow rider, rugby player, skier, snowboarder, curler, ice skater, bobsledder, and the rest of them all fit into those previous categories. So boom! There's your number. Ridiculous. Granted, that's while counting all of those may or may not be considered jobs. But still, there is that previous number. Boom! Still ridiculous.
And knowing you, you probably missed some.
Thank you so much for boosting my confidence as usual, Maxwell. So if I missed any, let me know down below. And until next time, please remember to never stop using your noggin.